Stick around to the last game. We do have a code for that to give away, and it is a really nice one. A bit of an instant hidden gem, I would say. Hello everyone, welcome back to Switch Up, and to the episode where we look at some interesting games, and then we tell you about them. Yeah, I wonder where you were going with that. Yeah, 6 games we do, 3 each of course, just games that we've been playing recently. They can be new games, they can be old, doesn't really matter, just, yeah, games we want to have a little chat about. This month, for the month of June, you can save 10%, happy days, on your eShop credit. You get 5% instantly using code SWITCHUP, and you'll get 5% in cashback. Alright, what are the interesting games that we've been playing this month? Let's find out. This episode is sponsored by Lytmi Fantasy Free, which is another one of those cool YouTube things. It's essentially a set of LED lights that get stuck to the back of your TV, and then you connect it through this box and it will sync the lighting to whatever's happening on the screen. But one thing that I didn't even think about that's been really useful is putting all your consoles into that one box and then only having one HDMI cable go up to your TV rather than the 5 I had before. It features 72 different LEDs, which I believe might be the highest number that's ever been done. It's suitable for TVs 55 inches and up, and it's the first HDMI 2.1 box that supports up to 8K, as if any of us are going to be running that on the Switch. You can control the whole thing through the app, and it's completely in sync, as I say, with what's happening on screen. It's not out of time, and it gives a nice ambience to the room. It'll work with all current consoles, and if you're interested, I'll pop links to it down in the description and the top pinned comment. When you make a purchase, we get a little kickback. But yeah, if you like this kind of thing, I must admit I do like my lights, then this is certainly a decent option.
Okay, I'll start then. The first one I want to talk about is a game called Neverawake. Now, this came out, I think it was a couple of months ago. I do remember it going in an upcoming games video. Might have been a bit longer than that actually, because I imported this from PlayAsia and it took bloody ages, so it was probably about 3 or 4 months ago. And it's a shoot 'em up, like a horizontal, sometimes vertical shoot 'em up, where you play as a young girl and you're almost fighting against things that she doesn't like. So she's asleep, hence the name. And you, for example, early on, like the first stage, the first world is all about vegetables she doesn't like. So you're fighting killer vegetables basically, and then there's one like she goes to the dentist and she doesn't like it. I think she's scared of dogs, and you know, really strange. Oh yeah, exactly right. But a very strange concept, but really quite well done actually. You know,
this was one we saw in the upcoming games video, and we were both like, "Well, that's weird, but it's kind of interesting."
Yeah, exactly, and it's got a nice art style, like a hand-drawn art style. I do like my shooters, and it's got quite, again, an interesting mechanic where rather than have to finish a level, you have to collect 100% or 100 souls, I guess is the best thing to call them. They're basically just little, you know, glowing orbs. And you get these by defeating enemies. So obviously the more enemies you kill, the quicker you can complete the stage, because you'll reach that 100 marker quicker. And the more difficult enemies to defeat drop more, you know, so it's that risk reward, isn't it?
So are you playing as the little girl in this?
Yes, like you're literally her,
flying
like floating
around.
along, shooting your bullets.
What's she firing?
Again, I think it's just like
tears.
I don't know what it is, just little, I don't know, orbs. I don't know, spirit power, make of it what you will. I don't know what she's doing, but yeah, the whole point is you have to try and wake her up. I guess she's having like a nightmare of all the things she doesn't like, and it kind of tells a story as you go along with like little captions of, you know, I went to school today and someone took the mickey out of my braces. I hate having braces, and then obviously you're into a level about the dentist or something like that.
Right,
you know? Just little things. It's nothing. It's not really a story to worry about, but it's quite a decent shooter. Starts pretty easy. You know, I must say, I don't think I lost a life until like the 8th level. They're only little short levels, little short chunks. But then all of a sudden, you're getting pelters, you're getting absolutely mullered, and you need to up your game. But you can also spend the orbs or the souls, whatever they are, to buy upgrades.
Oh, okay.
And you can then upgrade the upgrades, you know, like level them up. Again, just works really well. So there are passive ones, like you have like a special weapon as well.
Yeah.
And that will recharge over time, or it will recharge judging by how many enemies you defeat if you choose to buy that passive ability.
Okay.
Or you can upgrade the weapon or change the weapon completely. There are a few different ones. And it also has an evade move as well, where you can like phase through enemies and you won't get hit.
Oh, cool.
When
That's
things
cool.
get pretty hectic, you know. It is just a good shoot 'em up, you know. I don't know how much it is off the top of my head. It would have been at the bottom of the screen, obviously. So I can't tell you whether it's, you know, how much I've enjoyed it. I feel was value for money. Obviously, I bought the physical edition, so I don't mind paying that bit more for a physical game. It's for me, it just feels a bit different. Digitally, you know, I've got kind of a threshold that I won't go past. It's about £20 odd, maybe a little bit more.
All right, my one then is, well, my first one is We Love Katamari Reroll Plus Royal Reverie. Say that twice fast.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, that one, isn't it?
It really is a tongue twister. Now, I don't think you'd played this before we just had a go, right?
No, I thought I had, because it's maybe like by osmosis. I just remember the series for years, and I was sure I'd played one of them in the past, but having just played it, I'm pretty sure I would have remembered, you know?
Yeah. Well, I have played a lot of them in the past and found myself getting absolutely wrecked by Glen after one round, which is quite upsetting. But they are very unusual, aren't they? The control method essentially sees you using both sticks at the same time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So we, as Mark just said, we just played a two-player, face-off, competitive two-player. And for that first round, I didn't even know how to move. I was bashed into the walls. Like, how do you move the camera? And as you said, you have to move like one stick up and one stick down to turn yourself. And it's a bit like an Arctic lorry turning, isn't it? Like you can hear the beep, beep, beep. But when you get used to it, actually, it comes surprisingly natural, doesn't it?
It does. It's funny, isn't it? Because we're used to control systems in racing games and platformers, whatever. And actually, when you think about those, they're less intuitive than this. Two sticks forward to go forward, twist to go right and left. It actually feels quite good, and strafing by moving them to the right and to the left together, it actually feels fine. There's a momentum to the ball as well, like it always wants to go forwards, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So you're basically picking up stuff, aren't you? So you have a ball and you have to pick bits up, and you can only pick little bits up to start with, and the more you grow, your Katamari grows, and obviously the bigger the bits that you can pick up are. And I'm assuming, I didn't see it so much in multiplayer, but in a single player level, I'm guessing that there's almost like a trick to the way to go to get a good time in terms of getting all the little bits progressively getting bigger. Do you know what I mean?
There is. So there's always a way, like Glen says, to get bigger quicker.
Yeah.
But sometimes, each level has a different task. So like one of them's like your mum wants you to tidy your room, or the mum wants them to tidy their room. Yeah. And then like the god of the universe is like, no, you don't need to tidy your room. And then the mum will say something like, oh, the god of the universe is good at tidying. And then he'll be like, oh yeah, go tidy.
Get on with it,
So it might not be timed. It might just be tidy all the crap in the room. Kind of thing.
Is there a time, not time like you can run out of time, but for best scores and for that sort of thing?
Yeah. There's always like underlying like speed running kind of bits going on and all that stuff. But it's just a fun game to play. You really can switch your brain off. The music in Katamari is just like you heard it just then, right? It's like
very whimsical, isn't it?
It just gets, it's like a real earworm.
It's this is a remaster of the second game in the series.
Yes.
I read. But it's added the Royal Reverie part, which is like 5 chapters where you play as the king or the god, whatever it is,
the prince,
as a young man or something like that. That's what I read anyway. So that's kind of the added content this time round.
I didn't actually know that. There you go. I just assumed it was. I knew it was a remake or whatever, but I hadn't played that one. I played the last one that was on Switch, unless it was that one.
No, that was. I think that was a remaster of the first game,
right?
And this is a remaster of the second.
This runs a lot better, I have to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it runs a lot better. This is actually quite nice, isn't it? You didn't notice any slower.
No. Yeah, certainly this one ran well. Obviously, I've got no comparison to make, but yeah, this one ran very well. Just a lot of fun. Just one of those crazy games you play sometimes that just make you love Japan.
I love Japan. Exactly. What's your next one?
So my next one is one we played together again, actually, the other night, and that's Zombie Army 4 Dead War. So I have played this game before, I must say, but I'd played the vast majority of my time with this series was with the trilogy, which I've completed.
Right.
And I'd played little bits of this. I think I helped you with your review for this one.
Yeah.
I played some multiplayer just to give you some bits to work on, and we had a good session on it the other day. Played a good couple of hours of it in the campaign, and obviously it's a rebellion third-person shooter, isn't it? They know their stuff when it comes to that genre. And this game is set after the trilogy, obviously, but it's actually set in 1946. So whereas the trilogy took place during World War II, this is obviously bearing in mind the events of that series or those games. This is spanning off into the war continues, but this time it's continued against the outpouring of zombies.
Yeah.
That, obviously based on the events of what happened before, hence the name Dead War.
Yeah, I think this would really appeal to people. I mean, we obviously just reviewed Remnant from the Ashes. I think this would really actually appeal to people that like that.
Yes.
That style of action shooting.
Yes, I would say so.
There's actually quite a few similarities there.
Yeah, there are.
From the perspective to the way you control the camera. But I have to say, this does have gyro. I'm just throwing it in there. I don't always talk about gyro.
Not always.
Not always.
But it's, I would agree, actually. I think this is more similar to Remnant than it is to Sniper Elite, of which is a spin-off.
Absolutely.
And I will also say that this one feels slightly more measured than the trilogy. In the trilogy, every 5 minutes you'd get to an area where it's all locked off and there are a whole bunch of zombies chucked at you, and you need to kill them all before you can move on. And because I played that in single player, It was brutal at times. Like you were absolute, just the onslaught was unreal. And I think we played about 3 levels of this, didn't we? And there weren't many of those sections, haven't been thus far. No. That may well ramp up, but even in the trilogy, early days, you're getting it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were still some, but it just felt a little more, a tiny bit more laid back than those games.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were going down the river on a barge, and like, it's all kicking off. Everyone's collecting fuel cans. There's things jumping off the ceiling. There's like these blooming ninja snipers shooting us. It was really good, actually. We actually had a randomer join us, so we had like 4 of us. We should have captured some of that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, unfortunately, the footage you'll be seeing will just be from our review because we didn't capture for this. But no, it was good fun. We had us 2. Asdin from Grinning Wolf Games was with us, and as you say, someone random joined our lobby. But yeah, it was a good strong team of 4, wasn't it?
It was really good. And I'm actually moving from that one, if you're happy to move from that one to the next one. I want to talk, I've changed my mind. Okay. You've charmed me with that choice.
Yeah, go on.
I want to talk about Sniper Elite 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's a real good juxtaposition / comparison. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you sounded really professional there.
Oh, I am. With these guns. Oh, goodness. Sorry.
That's the other Gyro and that. They're the 2 things you mention in every video.
So I think it's interesting from the pacing of the stages. Yeah. So whereas Zombie Army Trilogy 4 is very much a predefined linear shooter, you know, you've got to do X, you've got to move from here to here to here.
Yes. Yeah.
Sniper Elite 4, and specifically the co-op that we play together, there's a real sandbox feel to it.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And it's actually one of the best co-op games I think I've ever played. I'll tell you for why. One of the chief reasons is in this sandbox environment, it's very rare for them to implement like a quick save feature. Yeah. I have it distinctly in my mind that we were going down the end. There was a pier in the distance, and you had targeted the 2 guys at the end of the pier, and I was like creeping down on the other side, and we basically planned to take them out together. And we missed the first time, but we could quickly reload, and it took us back to that same spot. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's really clever. From like, I know I'm super nerdy, but from a netcode standpoint and all that stuff, to have it work the way it did, I was like, wow, okay. So I would say to people, if you're after like and completely opposite of Zombie Army, you know, you have to be calculated, you have to be slow, you have to pace it out, you have specific objectives that you work around, and you have quite a large map. Do you remember that damn map?
Yeah, I do, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Obviously, the clue is in the title. You are a sniper in this game. You know, obviously, you are there to not be seen. You know, it's not all guns blazing. You're not Arnie or Sly Stallone. Do you know what I mean? It's not Commando, but you're in the bushes and you're down on your belly and all that caper. But it is a really quite, not jarring. That's not the right word, but to see a spin-off from a series that is so different, but uses a very similar engine.
It's the same engine.
Yeah, exactly. Both very good games. Highly recommended. But it's just what your tastes are. I do like the blood and thunder of zombies, as opposed to the stealth approach. But I can appreciate both. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you went real like Gareth from The Office for a minute there. You're in the jungle, on your belly. It's just you and the enemy.
I'm just going to be thinking about Gareth quotes now for the rest of the video.
So yeah, that's Sniper Elite 4.
I can catch a monkey.
He's caught a monkey, so, you know, you're hard. Very different to the other one, but again, I think these are all on sale at the moment in this crazy sale, so yeah, consider checking that one out if you like the slower, stealthier aspects of the Sniper Elite series.
Yeah, and both great fun in co-op, just to reiterate that point.
Fact.
Right, my last game, isn't it? So my last one is Killer Freqeuncy. Now this is a game that I reviewed. It would have gone out Monday of this week as you're watching this, and I'm always hesitant to talk about the same game twice in a week, but no sod watched that, so it doesn't really make any difference, to be honest. No, I'm only joking, but this was a game that I was quite intrigued by when it was announced. So this is published by Team 17. I do like Team 17. Yeah, they just, they do pick some good games these days. And it's a horror game, but very much with a comedy angle to it, heavily inspired by 80s slasher films. I got a really strong My Bloody Valentine vibe from it, which is a film that came out in the 80s. I think it was a Canadian film, if memory serves me right. But just in terms of the way that it was set up and kind of the way the killer was portrayed, who's it going to be, the big reveal, that sort of thing, definitely reminded me of that film. But it also reminded me, more so just for the setting, there was a more recent horror film called Pontypool, which was set in a radio station, which is, as this one is too, and it just had a nice blend of different horror movies that made it feel nostalgic yet new. And the idea is that you are the DJ of this radio station. It's played in a first-person perspective, and things start out pretty normally this night. And then you get a call from the 911, as it will be over there, operator, saying that the sheriff has been killed. There's a murderer on the loose. all operating services have been disabled due to this killer's actions, and she's going to drive to the next town. So set in the 80s, so obviously not the technology we have today.
Yeah.
She's going to drive to the next town to get help, and she's going to divert all calls to you for this night. So you're getting called by people asking for help because they're being stalked by this killer.
Whoa, you know what? This sounds like Firewatch, but the 80s horror movie version of, which could be really interesting. So right off the bat, how scary is it?
It's not scary. It's really not very scary at all.
So it's more about the narrative and the situations you're having to deal with.
It's the situation is, it's one of those horror games or horror films games, anything like that, where it's about, God, what would you do if you were in that situation? Do you know what I mean? So you're in this radio station, and at first I thought you were going to be at your desk the whole time at the dashboard, but you're not. You have to move around the station. More of it gets unlocked as you go on, and the reason for that is because you'll get a call, and I'll give you an example of an early one. Is that the call comes through and there's a lady that's saying, I'm being, the killer's outside, I'm really scared, and you're saying to her, where are you, what's your address? And she won't give it to you because she's panicking and whatnot, but she mentions that there's a fraternity party, and they're having delivery food come, and being delivered, and you have to find out which of the local takeaways it is that might be going to this fraternity party to get the address of the fraternity, to then find out where this lady is.
Oh, that's clever.
And it's just it's like little puzzles that you have to solve by finding bits and bobs around the office, and then making the right decisions and giving the right answers in the phone calls, otherwise they can be killed.
Okay.
And it's about trying to get through the game and keeping everyone alive.
Do you, as the DJ, ever get to play songs?
Yeah, you put the songs on.
Do you?
You've got your record player there.
Do you get to choose?
Yeah, it's like you've got your little box there of your records in. There's about 10 songs and you can put them on.
I like that.
So that was nice. Yeah, just that little splicing of normality of the actually doing of the job as you're going. What I will say, probably should have said earlier, is that the controls are very frustrating.
Yeah, really twitchy, aren't they?
Very twitchy. Like you always overshoot where you want to go, if you're trying to press a button. And I said in the review that I do like the juxtaposition of that normality against the absurdity. I do like that. There's certainly a place for that in horror. But because the mundane tasks you're carrying out feel mundane, because the controls are awkward, it loses its purpose.
Yeah.
And if they could have just tightened those up or added gyro, this is a perfect game for gyro, pointing at the button to press play, it would have scored higher than it did, but it's still a very fun game.
Brilliant. I might actually give that a go. It doesn't sound, it's not what I imagined at all.
No, it's not. I mean, the horror is loose horror. It's comedy horror,
Okay. The last one then, and the game that we will be giving away a free copy of, is Smushi, Come Home. And it is a touching tale of a mushroom who gets snatched up by a bird, and it takes him far, far away. And then he needs to get back to his pals, who, it has to be said, are bloody useless.
Are they?
Oh, they're all sat around a campfire like, oh, Smushi's gone missing. We must get him back. And then they're like, but how? And the others are like, we don't know.
To be fair, what is he? A mushroom?
He's a mushroom.
He's a mushroom. And he's been birds took him.
Far away.
I don't think there's anything you can do at that point. I think, you sit there and you say, yeah, no, it's sad. I like Smushi. He was a nice fella. But he's been eaten by a bird. What are we going to do about it? By the time we just leave the campfire, he's being eaten. He's in the nest. Collateral damage.
In the sequel, right? They could have a hand comes down, picks him up, and then it cuts to the Zelda cooking animation.
Imagine that, yeah.
The end.
He became an elixir. Nice.
Stamina up. But anyway, aside from that, this one really did remind me of a short hike. It has that short hike vibe to it. Everything about it. There's no combat. You're gliding around with your little, I think it's a leaf, something like that. You can. It has a stamina system that they've ripped straight out of every third-person adventure platform or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're making your way through different seasons. So like the bird, he drops you off in the snow, and then there's an area there, and you've got to do. It feels very old school Mario in some ways. You've got to collect a certain number of things, do this, climb there, help this person find his I don't know what. To be honest, my daughter played most of this, and I sat there just with a big smile on my face about how much she was enjoying it.
That's nice. Yeah, it did look lovely. I mean, you showed me 10 minutes of it before we started, so yeah, my knowledge of it is very brief, but it's got that. I don't know. At first, it looked like a low texture style, like a PS1 game, but actually, the more it went on, it looked more like a low poly style with some elements of that as well.
Yeah, it's got that real nice low poly style, and I don't know know why more people don't use it.
Yeah.
You know, because it doesn't rely on high textures and all that. It's just got that lovely 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
And just nice artwork. There's good shadows here. It just looks lovely, doesn't it? Despite not being particularly technically impressive. Well, I have to say, for one person to do this is very cool.
Very impressive, yeah.
Now, this isn't a spoiler because the developer himself just tweeted this out yesterday.
Right.
All right, but it is kind of near the end of the game.
Okay.
At the end of it, you have to ride around on this capybara.
Okay, yeah.
Right, it's underwater and like there's loads of them and you use them as like these little mounts. And it's just amazing. It's amazing. It's the same point at which you get your ability to swim underwater. So there's loads of different abilities you get.
Nice.
And you're swimming under them in the little feet in the water. It's just really a nice game to play.
Yeah. No, it did look good. It did. Sometimes we forget, I suppose, that adventure games don't have to have combat in it. Don't have to, you can literally be about the journey, can't it? And things like A Short Hike, really encapsulated that. And this, by the sounds of it, and from the little I saw, certainly looked to have that flavour to it as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And I saw a little debate online. Someone was like, "Oh, but it's only like 3 or 4 hours long." And so, I just don't buy that argument.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't buy that as a negative.
No, I do understand it. I don't agree with it personally, and it goes like another one of my hobbies I've mentioned plenty of times, I'm sure, is Lego, and it's a very similar argument with that when people are reviewing sets or whatever, where they talk about price per piece, the piece count and how many pieces you get for your money. But obviously, it's the pieces you could get could vary wildly from one set to the next. In terms, you get huge, big, whacking big pieces that need a new mold, or you can get tiny little pieces, and you've got 1,000 of those. And I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent, but my point is that it's the quality of, or the how much you enjoy the end result, isn't it? The way through the game. And if that takes 3 hours, but it was 3 hours of bliss, as opposed to 10 hours where by the end you're like, this could have ended 4 hours ago now,
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, what you see is what you get with this one, right? You guys are watching this footage. It feels exactly as it looks, and it runs brilliantly. I'm really impressed with it. I do kind of like to support, we do.
Yeah.
Indies like this. They've gone out there, especially at this time in the Switch's life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're moving towards its twilight period. We're moving towards that next Switch or whatever it's going to be. And you would say, is that the best use of your time to develop? And actually, I'd say yes, it is. And hopefully the community supports this game. Now, I said at the start of this video, you can win a copy of one of these games. It is this one. And to do that, you kind of have to have been listening throughout the video. I want you to let us know down in the comments, out of the games we've spoken about, which one has tickled your fancy and why. What was it that you liked about it? And we'll be giving away that hopefully tomorrow in a community post.
And what was it that Gareth could catch if he was lost in the jungle? That's not for anything. You're not getting a game for that.
No, that's not the quiz.
Just for a laugh.
Brilliant. Thanks to all of you. Remember, you can save 10% on your eShop credit. If you go to switchup.gg, use our code SWITCHUP, you'll get 5% off instantly, and you'll get 5% in cash back for the month of June.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good deal. That is actually,
that
5% in cash back, it does build up over time. Before you know it, you get yourself a £50 card for free or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It does all adds up. Every little helps, as Tesco say, or someone.
They do.
One of them. Anyway, yeah. What are we saying?
Thanks so much for watching. Yeah, thanks so much for all things Switch all the time. Keep your Switch up or Nintendo up. Depends what the next console is going to be.
Exactly
called.
right. Yeah. Take care and happy gaming.